Hey everybody, I'm Wyatt from Waves 5 Media and Cinema Trip Reviews, and today we're going to talk about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. This one, it's been in the works for a while. It's been done for a while. It's being directed by David Blue Garcia and being produced, and the story is by Fede Alvarez, who went and directed the remake of The Evil Dead and Don't Breathe. And Don't Breathe 2, I think he directed as well. Very good movies. Before we get into this one here, we gotta go back to how it all started. So I'm going to kind of go through just a little rundown and retrospective of how we got here, starting with 1973 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This original pinnacle of horror movies. This is one of my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. One of the best horror movies of all time. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like peak, one of the top horror movies that's ever been out there. This movie is just all atmosphere. It feels so dirty and gross and disgusting. You feel like you need a shower after watching it, but yet you cannot look away. No, you cannot look away. It is absolutely fantastic. It's so believable. You feel like you're actually there watching this go down. And there's really no gore to be had in this movie. There's really not much blood at all. So I mean, it's all in your head. They're making you think. They're making you imagine what's happening on the screen. With all these sick characters, and then Sally's just stuck right in the middle there, and then you got Leatherface, who he's not even really a slasher. They make him out to be a slasher in some of these other movies, but it seems like everybody runs into, he's scared of them. All these people are coming into his house, freaking him out, and he goes and kills them. He's scared, but he's not actively out there trying to go, trying to kill all these people. He's not searching for them. But overall, it's a fantastic movie. I watch it at least, once or twice a year. Top 5 horror movie for me. Absolutely fantastic. The design on Leatherface is peak. And it just has a dirtiness and grittiness to it that's just so believable. And I don't think anything's ever matched it as far as that, and the realism behind it. And it's just going to stand the test of time. So we'll go right into the second one here. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 came out in 1986, directed by Tobe Hooper again. He came back and did it pretty different tonally wise. It's very goofy in it. Bill Moseley is Chop Top in it. He kind of steals the show, and then you got Dennis Hopper. He's coming back to try to kill the family. It's an okay movie. Don't expect it to be anywhere near the first one, or tonally wise, or a direct continuation, because it is, but it isn't in a way. But overall, I could recommend it if you're a fan of the series. Definitely over some of the ones we're going to be talking about here in a second. But it's definitely interesting. It's a fun watch. You're going to be entertained throughout. Unlike the third one here, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. This is one of the first movies for Viggo Mortensen. And you got Ken Foree in there as well. He's been in a lot of horror movies, horror movie legend as well. This movie is just boring. It gets picks up kind of towards the end, but this movie overall is just boring. I cannot recommend this movie at all. It has a couple parts in it, it's, like I said, towards the end, but overall it's such a slow build, and it's kind of in a swampy area. It doesn't even feel like it's in Texas for most of the time. But definitely don't recommend that one here. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation, the fourth one here, famously known because it has, Matthew McConaughey. All right. And Renee Zellweger in it.
You sit the fuck down.
This movie was shelved after it was made because, this wasn't made, this was made obviously before Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger got famous. This was shelved because they didn't know if they were going to release it or not. They didn't know if it was good enough. Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger blow up into superstardom. All right, now's the time to release, get some money back on this. Terrible movie overall, but I can recommend it because you get such a hammed up performance by Matthew McConaughey. His performance in this movie alone is worth the price to watch this.
My brother here is tired of what's her name's face, and he wants a new one. It just happens to be he wants this face right here.
Leatherface is terrible in this. Some of the kills in it are pretty bad. The dialogue is absolutely atrocious in it. I just watched it recently, but man, Matthew McConaughey in it hams it up absolutely bananas insane in this movie. He actually is the only good great actor in this movie. You know, it's fun. He's fun to watch during out the course of the whole movie here. And then you have a break here for a minute, and then it goes to the remake directed by Marcus Nispel here in 2003 with Jessica Biel in it, famous of course. This one I actually enjoy. It's not one I watch like maybe yearly or a lot, but overall I would recommend it because I wouldn't say, I mean, it's somewhat faithful to the original, but just like any good remake, because I would say there's only a handful out there. You know, it follows some of the same plot and story beats, but it does just enough to differentiate itself and make it stand out. And I think a lot of the people that may not be into, you know, the slower pace of the original, they're the ones that are kind of the fans of this one. I actually don't mind it at all. It's definitely a lot more gory, a lot more blood. It doesn't make me feel like I need a shower like the original one. It doesn't feel real in a sense because, you know, it has that Michael Bay polish, the Platinum Dunes polish on it. But overall, I would recommend it though. It's a pretty good solid movie, especially for a remake. And then you go into, you know, the remake's prequel, the prequel to the remake, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. That came out in 2006, 3 years later. This one is a pretty kind of an underrated horror movie in my opinion. When it came out, I actually watched it a decent amount, because, you know, it does up the ante in the gore department a little bit. It's a pretty solid movie overall. The story in it is pretty decent. I guess, you know, it kind of sets up the characters. You kind of make you kind of get involved with the character. It has some good character development in it, unlike most of these other sequels in the series. But this one kind of, you know, it did have a theatrical release, but it kind of got pushed to the back burner. Nobody really paid attention to it after that. But I would actually recommend this movie. It's kind of a sleeper movie. I would say to watch that one. And then you got the absolutely abysmal Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. In 2013, this one was supposed to be a direct continuation from the original as well, all these years later. Absolutely terrible. Leatherface is an old man chilling in a basement. He's been living in a basement all of these years. And then you had, you know, the beginning of the movie, it starts off with, you know, I think it was the ending of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He has a secret relative that inherits, you know, the house all these years later. And then, you know, it's just a mess though, because it's so clunky. The dialogue is terrible in it. The acting is terrible in it. This movie just shouldn't have been made. And then you got, you know, the infamous eye-rolling line. Because it's her cousin, and they team up at the very end, and she takes care of Leatherface. Absolutely abysmal. Do not watch this movie. And then you go to the Leatherface 2017 movie. I think this is a prequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well, kind of explaining the backstory of Leatherface. This does have a twist because it does make you think that, you know, this character, one of the characters you're watching, because it's like a group of characters throughout the movie, you think one is Leatherface, boom, twist, no, it's somebody else. Explains how he gets the chainsaw, explains how he, you know, messes up his face and he starts wearing people's faces. Not a good movie by any means, but hey, if you made it this far and you're interested in some of the lore of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, hey, why not watch it? Why not watch it? So I wouldn't say I recommend it, but hey, if you're interested, go ahead and watch it. It's nowhere near terrible as like 3 or 4 or anything like that. So that's where we are leading up to this new one here. And once again, you know, this new one is leaning on the new trend now of all these horror movies that are coming back and continuing from the original, but we're going to name it the same. We're going to bring a character back from the original, and they're going to, you know, fight their demon, fight the enemy, you know, that's mentally scarred them in the past. You saw it with Halloween. It happens in, you know, apparently the Chucky TV show that just came out, Scream, the new Scream that came out, you know, they kind of based the movie around that, and kind of, I don't know, I have my own opinion on Scream, but they also did it with that as well. There's a couple of examples also, and I'm sure there's going to be more in the future. But this one, it takes place present day. Leatherface is supposed to be like 70 or 80 years old, older than the 2013 one at this point. And you're bringing Sally back. Unfortunately, it's not Marilyn Burns. You know, she passed away a couple years ago. But you have someone else coming back playing Sally, the original survivor from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And all these years later, you know, they said,
50 years I've been waiting for this night. Just to see him again.
And, you know, it's just so lazy at this point, I feel, you know. And I was so skeptical when this movie was announced. And, you know, there's being on Reddit or whatever, you kind of hear some plot leaks or, you know, maybe some of these screenings. You hear that it's absolutely terrible. I've been trying to stay away from everything, all, you know, as far as, you know, story and plot. I'm very skeptical just because of the track record of these movies. And, you know, this one going directly to Netflix because I couldn't really find someone to buy it, put it in theaters. It's not promising as well, but it does have Fede Alvarez, who developed the story behind it and is producing. Be even better if he was directing it. So it does give me some hope in that. And then you have the new trailer that dropped here a week or so ago. And I would say after this trailer, it kind of gave me a little bit more hope. You know, I'm a little bit more hopeful in this movie now. After seeing it, even though I roll my eyes so hard at, you know, just the plot of Sally coming back to try to beat, you know, fight Leatherface and kill him once and for all. It's just so tired at this point. But I'm interested to see, like, what's going on with these kids, why they're there. They're just going to try to rebuild this town that Leatherface is chilling in now. He's just been living there all these years as, like, abandoned ghost town. But I'm interested to see, you know, of course, the bus massacre. You know, that bus massacre is going to be gnarly. It's going to be pretty... I'm expecting that to be rad. I did eye roll, you know.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
So, I mean, they all get slaughtered. So that's going to be entertaining, at least. I'm just not sure about, you know, Leatherface running... 70, 80-year-old Leatherface running around, swinging a chainsaw around. I like the openings. I'm guessing that's going to be the opening scene in the movie, the part beginning of the trailer, you know, with the girl driving through the field into the harvester, and then, you know, you see Leatherface just pop up like, hey, hi there, just out of out of the corner, out of that little field. But I don't know. I just don't know how this one's gonna be. It seems like they has a family of some sort in that house, that older woman. I don't know what's going on there. So I'm guessing it wasn't just Leatherface around there. It's not just him taking care of himself. Someone else is helping him, I'm guessing. But I'm very skeptical. Just like I'm sure a lot of other Texas Chainsaw Massacre fans are at this point. Going into this movie, but of course we're going to review it. Of course we're going to talk about it maybe on the podcast. I'm going to see if the rest of the guys will watch it so we can do a big group review of it. And I would also love to do a original, you know, retro review of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it is one of my favorite movies. Not just horror movie, but favorite movies. So it would be great to do that as well. I'm hoping this movie's good. Fingers crossed. But we will find out here in the next couple weeks. Until then, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to check out all of our content. We got a plethora of content across the channel here. A little bit of everything for someone to check out. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to like and follow. Make sure to go follow us on Twitter at SquadPodSports and at Waves5 Media. And we'll see everybody on that next video.